Hi everybody, Miss Mocano here again, and I wanted to continue working through this assignment, which is graphing practice. Unfortunately, my first video got chopped off at 15 minutes, which is okay actually because we had made it through this entire scenario 1, and I'm going to use this video to go through scenario 2. So this is about making graphs. We're working on the graphing practice assignment, scenario 2, which is actually giving us a data table that is showing the running speed versus heart rate of an adult. So these numbers in this column are the running speed, how many miles per hour this adult is running, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. And for each running speed in the right column, it is giving us the heart rate of this adult in beats per minute. So, for example, when the adult is running at 3 miles per hour, his or her heartbeats are 105. When they're running at 3.5, their heartbeat is 107 beats per minute. When they're running at 4 miles per hour, heartbeat is 122, and so on. Okay, so that's what these numbers mean. Now the problem is asking us to make a scatterplot graph with a trend line. And don't be intimidated by all these words. I'm going to show you what that is. It's very easy to make. But we got to make this kind of scatterplot and a trend line to represent this data. And we have to have a proper table, a proper title. We got to have axis labels. And we got to plot our independent and dependent variables in the right way. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means and how you're going to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to my spreadsheet, and I showed you guys in the last video, I made myself a separate tab just for this part of the assignment. So I have this tab on the bottom here with my first part of the assignment that we just went through, and I'm going to do my second part of the assignment right now on the second tab. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually take this data table and put it in my Google Sheet. And so I could make it from scratch again, and I'll show you how to do that because it's good practice. So I'm going to enter the title of my first column, which is running speed in miles per hour. Just typing in that cell, and then I'm gonna go hit enter, and let's make this column a little bit bigger. Let's make this column a little bit wider so that our stuff fits in there. And I'm gonna go to the next column next to it, and I'm gonna enter the title of my next column, which is heart rate and beats per minute. So all I'm doing at this point, and I'm going to make this a little bit wider so I have plenty of space to work with. And all I'm doing at this point, you guys, is literally just copying this table from here and putting it into my Google Sheet, which I'm going to hand in. And then I'm going to go down and enter the numbers. So my first number was 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and so on. I'm going to copy all those numbers. And then I'm going to copy the numbers in this column, 105, 107, 122. So just entering all these numbers. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to highlight everything and make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to center everything. I'm going to put, I'm not going to go through and enter all the numbers right now because I don't want to use my time for that. I want to make sure I get everything I need to say to you guys in this video. So I am going to show you, we're going to put a title on this, and the title, I'm going to put running speed versus heart rate for an adult. Just as it was given to me in the handout. Maybe I'm going to bold this title to make it look nicer. I'm going to put myself a nice little border around my data table. So I'm going to select borders over here, There we go. And maybe the last thing I'm going to do to make it look even nicer, I'm going to highlight my labels. All right. So here's my data table. Again, it's not complete. Yours should definitely be complete. I'm going to go to some work I did before to prepare for this. I'm actually going to copy my data table right from here because I just did it. I'm going to delete everything I did, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to enter my data table, which I made just the way I just showed it to you guys. All right, so my data table is looking great. I got labels for my column. I got a title. I got all of my data listed in there. Now, what I got to do is make this into a scatter plot. So let's see how we're going to do that. Very important. I'm going to select all of my data, including the labels. I'm not going to select this title. All right, and I'm not going to select any blank cells because that's going to mess up my graph. So again, it's really, really important how you do this step. Otherwise, your graph is going to be a mess. So you want to go and only select your data and include these column labels on top. Once you do that, you're going to go to Insert. You're going to select Chart. And it automatically gave me, see how it pops up this chart editor right here? It automatically gave me a scatter chart, which is what I actually was asked for. But let's say it gives me something else, because sometimes it does. Let's say it gave me a bar chart. That's not what I want in this case. It is asking me for a scatter chart. So all I want to do, if it gives me the wrong type of graph, I just go right here under chart type and I select what I want. What I want right now is a scatter graph, which is these dots. I'm going to select that. Okay. So far so good. Let's see. I'm going to actually move this. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so I can see it a little bit better. And one thing I noticed right away that I don't like is that all my data is basically stuck in the top half of my graph. And that's not really great. I'd like it to be spread out all over my graph, because look at the space down here. There's nothing there. So it's kind of wasted space. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to go and customize my graph. So I'm going to go right here under Customize. I'm going to go under Vertical Axis. And do you see how the vertical axis, all of my numbers on the vertical axis start above 100 basically. So I don't really need this portion between 0 and 100. I don't have any data in that portion. So I can basically tell my graph to start at the minimum value of 100. And maximum, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it just do what it does automatically. So do you see how it changed that? It automatically changed that. Again, let me move it back to 0. So at 0, I got all this wasted space down here. If I start my graph instead at 100, because that's where my lowest data point is just above 100, then it gives me just a nicer spread of the data. It's the same data, it just looks a little bit nicer. The other thing I'm going to do is that my worksheet right here, it's asking me for a scatter plot, which I did, with a trend line. So let's see how we get that trend line. So again, I'm in my chart editor over here. I'm going to go to Series, and I am going to go right down here. There's an option that says Trend Line. I click that. It gives me a trend line, meaning that is a line that not necessarily, it goes as close as possible to all of my points. Okay, so you can see some of the points do not lie on it, some of them do. So this trend line is basically the best kind of approximation, going as close as possible to all of my points. Let's see how we're doing on the rest of the assignment. So we did the scatter plot, we did the trend line. It's also asking us that our graph must have a proper title, including both variables. So let's see if we have that. So our graph automatically has a title, which is given by Google Sheets. I may or may not like that. So let's see, heart rate versus running speed. That's a pretty good title. How do I know that? Well, it includes both of my variables. So it includes my variables, in this case, are the running speed That is my independent variable, which is always found in the left column of my table. And my heart rate is my dependent variable, which is always found in my right column of my table. So my title has both of those variables in it. That's great. I could, if I'm not too happy with the title, I could always change it a little bit, double click on it, and maybe I want to add something else. So maybe I want to say heart rate versus running speed for an adult, because maybe I want to be a little bit more descriptive. But if I had left it the way it was, that would have been totally fine too. Then my handout is also asking me to have appropriate axes labels and to make sure that I have my independent variable on the horizontal axis and the dependent variable on the vertical. So let's see if I have that. So my axes, they definitely have labels down here, which is great. They have units in brackets. My independent variable, which is in my left column, is on my horizontal axis, which is how it should be. So my independent variable is my running speed. It is on my horizontal axis, so I'm happy with that. My dependent variable, the heart rate, should be on my vertical axis, and that is where it is. So I'm very happy with this. Basically, I'm going to submit this as is. This is my Google Sheet. And if you guys submit this to me as is, you have scenario 1 right here in this sheet. It is labeled. You have a data table. You have your bar graph as I asked you. And you have scenario 2 right here with your data table and your graph. I'm going to be very happy with that. Let's see, is there anything else that the assignment is asking? Yeah, nope. So your assignment basically should look like this, you guys. I should have first sheet. Make sure you have your data table. Should always have labels. Right here, I'm going to highlight the labels in red maybe, so you guys know those are the labels. My title, let me make it in green, just so we know that's what we're talking about. All right, so I got my title, my labels, my data table looking great. My graph, again, with a nice title, nice labels for the axes. And then, so that is my bar graph. And then I got the same thing on this sheet. I got a nice data table with a nice little title, nice column labels. And all my data is in there. And then I also have a really nice scatter plot with a trend line. It has a nice title right here, heart rate. It has axes are labeled, and my variables are on the correct axis. All right, hope this was helpful to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions in class, and I'll see you guys soon.